Okay, everyone, by now you've probably watched the surveillance footage of the moment Austin Metcalf was fatally stabbed by Karmelo Anthony. The footage was shot from very far away, so it's difficult to see what happened. Now, I've zoomed the footage. I'm going to play this section of the footage in a moment. Karmelo Anthony is wearing a gray hoodie, barely visible because the bleacher seats are gray. But I believe we get a clear view of the shove from Austin Metcalf and the reciprocal shove from Karmelo Anthony. Now, we don't see the knife in the footage. If the jury wasn't shown zoomed in footage like this, well, that could be defense counsel's error if they didn't even try to zoom the footage and offer it into evidence. Now, if they tried to offer it, but the judge excluded the evidence, then it could be judicial error. In any event, here's the zoomed footage. So we just watched Austin Metcalf push Karmelo Anthony, and it's not a light tap. We saw him wailing on Karmelo Anthony, who was sent flailing backwards. Okay, he's almost knocked off his feet. Karmelo Anthony is physically shoved back and to the side like this. Now, one of Austin Metcalf's friends who's there to help, he even gets hit during the initial shove by Austin Metcalf, and the friend's head is even rolling back like that. It's a violent shove. Austin Metcalf is a football player. What if he had done that to a girl age 17? Now, another document that I've talked about on this channel states that Hunter Metcalf is alleged to have threatened to physically hit cheerleaders, and both Metcalf brothers were known to be bullies. Now, a 17-year-old girl would have been knocked off her feet by that shove. Now, we saw in the video that Karmelo Anthony just barely stayed on his feet. Now, if a girl, age 17, had a weapon and used it, she would have been justified in defending herself, in my view. Would she have been charged with murder or just manslaughter? And she could have argued self-defense, and I believe she would have won her case. Now, it was a violent shove by Austin Metcalf that even sent his friend. His friend's head was rolling around back like that. Now, this was initial extreme violence by Austin Metcalf. And let's remember, it's raining. The tent apparently has Austin Metcalf's school logo on it, but it's a track meet where Karmelo Anthony's school had been invited. It's raining. There are no other tents set up that I can see on the surveillance video. Now, Karmelo Anthony had the right to be there. His school had been invited. There's nothing illegal about him sitting underneath a tent in the rain at a track meet to which his school had been invited, and he was shoved violently. Okay, he was propelled backward and to the side. Okay, almost knocked off his feet. We all watched it. Austin Metcalf was starting a fight. He was ready to throw down. His twin brother, Hunter Metcalf, is standing right there, backing him up, and so is their friend. So it's at least 3 against 1. Now, the fight ended quickly. When Karmelo Anthony pushes back, it looks like, on the video, an equal amount of force that was used on him. Now, the knife is not visible even on the zoom, but we know there was a knife, and Karmelo Anthony runs out of the tent and tries to run out of the stadium, but he's stopped by numerous officials, I guess their security. Now, later we get police body cam footage. We don't hear any Miranda warnings on the body cam. Now, when an individual is arrested, the police are supposed to tell the individual, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to consult an attorney before or during questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you by the state. Now, we don't hear those warnings on the body cam footage. Here it is.
It's the alleged suspect.
Okay. I am. No, I'm not. Well, I know how it goes. I'm not alleged. I did.
Okay. We'll be there in a minute.
So, if the Miranda warnings weren't given, maybe It's just not attached to this segment of the body cam. But if the warnings were not given, Karmelo Anthony's statements right there after he's detained should have been the subject of a motion to suppress. Why? Well, because without the Miranda warnings, there's a risk that his statements could have been coerced, the result of police interrogation instead of a voluntary confession. Now, only voluntary confessions are admissible in evidence. Now, whether the statements are deemed voluntary will depend on the circumstances. Sometimes, if the subject is chased by police, in my view, the suspect might confess because, for example, he fears he's going to be shot dead if he doesn't confess. Now, all of the events that occurred, from the altercation in the tent to being cuffed by police, now all of that occurred within a very short period of time. So, there was no premeditation, couldn't have been. Now, the fact that he brought a knife was made an issue in the trial, apparently, but it's a multi-tool. It's not a single-use weapon. It had other tools on it, what's often called a Swiss Army knife. Now, all across America, we watch the news. We watch news reports about fatal animal attacks in Texas by pit bulls killing people, even their owners. Feral pigs, which have killed people in Texas. Now, if Karmelo Anthony had a weapon to protect himself against wildlife attacks and animal attacks, that might be credible, especially in Texas and Florida because of the wildlife. Now, if the Miranda warnings weren't given, Karmelo Anthony's statements might be deemed coerced, and in any event, it should be an issue in the appeal. There was a chase, and he was cuffed, okay? The police had probable cause already by that point, so he should have been read his Miranda rights at that moment. And if his statements were not suppressed at trial or as part of a suppression hearing, maybe that was why he chose not to testify, because his confession might have been used to impeach his credibility, because if a statement is suppressed, a confession, it cannot be used in the prosecution's case-in-chief against the defendant at trial. But sometimes the judge will allow the statement to be used to impeach the defendant's credibility if he chooses to testify. In any event, what's not impeaching is the surveillance footage, which I showed at a zoom of around 900%. Now, I wonder if his attorneys tried to zoom the footage. Karmelo Anthony was violently shoved and almost knocked off his feet. Austin Metcalf was starting a fight. That's what it looked like to me, and it was at least 3 against 1. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.